are not any questions currently.
Okay, do you have a specific one you'd like to go into?
Wherever you take it.
We're going to put you, let's see here. Just kind of looking through some stuff. Okay, you're going to go into a seamstress one. You're going to pretend that you are doing some seamstress work for somebody, and we'll let you kind of play from there, okay? So basically, you have probably still customers that are going to kind of come in and ask you to help them with custom sewing jobs, okay? The main goal right now is just to kind of introduce customers, what's available, and what you can possibly do. You can roll any which way you want. Basically what we're doing is we're saying our focus is here, but you can go wherever you need it to, okay? Like, just in general, like, I mean, that's what customers do, type of thing. But like, that's our focus, but we're just kind of jumping into this little level and kind of light introducing of fleximers. Fleximers. Okay, Shannon, I'll switch gears and I'll let you take over for a minute.
Okay. Well, customers are great. You can do a lot with customers. Like you highlighted on that map right there. You can log a lot of things with your customers. You can also schedule time and tie customers to that, which is really nice. If you've got meetings or scheduling. In this kind of a business, probably what I would do is if I were meeting with clients or customers that were coming for a seamstressing job, I assume actually I would probably set up some element of FlexGrid. So I would use probably some combination of the customer logs to log what the jobs are or to log my progress as I go through, maybe some elements of time for scheduling, but I would assume I would add FlexGrid in their measurements, because the minute you do something seamstress-wise for someone, you're going to want a standard set of measurements. You want the hip, the waist, the bust, the inseam, exactly.
Shoulders.
So you want measurements for whoever you're doing. That's one of the first things you do.
Okay.
Whenever you're taking them.
Why don't you go to Microsoft Word for just a second? Maybe click on the one for document 2. Why don't you plan it out? And let's actually have you add the FlexGrid pieces. This is perfect. Like, our whole goal today is customers, FlexGrids, elements of time. It's all good.
I really didn't like the word seamstress. Probably not really. So, okay. We will definitely have customers that will come in, and we're going to set up some FlexGrid because we want their measurements. Hip, bust, waist, inseam, shoulders.
Arm length, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's also a back. It's like neck to waist. I don't know what that's technically called, so I'm going to call it. I'll call it neck to waist. But yeah, there's something like that. Yeah, we can put arm. Okay, so we're going to set this up just because we would want to track this about anyone that comes in. And then we might do some scheduling. We could do that. Just to.
You might actually want to bill for time as well.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Do you mean tracking that in elements of time, billing for time?
Yeah.
Would be a great way to do it.
Either scheduling an appointment or physically billing for a job that you're doing.
Let's do both because I've never done that.
Okay, great.
So billing for time and scheduling, and then we'll just have regular customers, and we'll probably end up using the log notes because we'll just kind of explain. But with elements of time, you could log that as well, right? So maybe it'd be more detailed like that.
Well, it depends. It depends. Customers tie it right to that. Elements of time ties it to that event.
To what you were doing during that process.
Correct.
Exactly. Okay, so Is there anything else we wanted to add to this before I move on?
I think that's perfect. That's a great start. Let's go ahead and start in.
Okay, so we probably want to set up some of our flex grid, right? First
Sure,
of all,
sure.
if we have a customer that comes in, we're going to take their measurements. So let's get some flex grid.
So that would be under system maintenance.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've never actually gone to the home page from the
And why don't you switch to the home page that you like, do your
I
chooser
actually,
and then tell us what you want.
I use the classic probably, but I probably would have gone flex grid home. I didn't
Okay.
know which
Go ahead and just do home there.
spot it was in. So we are going to manage it. Let me look what I'm looking for.
Okay, so you don't have the admin permission, so you need to go,
I
see how
looked it up.
there's no
That's what I
button
thought.
in the middle.
There's no manage
Yep,
flex grid times.
Yep.
So we'll go back home. We'll get the permissions we need.
And you're currently
I'm in
logged in
demo?
under Adilas demo, correct?
Okay.
And that's under system maintenance.
Maintenance?
Yep. There should be.
Admin flex grid. Perfect. Edit the page. All right. Let's go home. Let's go. There we go. Admin manage custom field. Let's add our fields. So this is going to be tied to our customers. And we are going to,
Why don't you go ahead and take other one. Usually
you want me to change that one first?
that's usually what you do. This is kind of a common practice. Like,
Great.
otherwise it will take up
Right.
the
Other
field.
one will take up a
It will
field.
be called other one the whole time. So you literally would probably want to be like, okay, here we go.
Okay. So let's put in hit open entry. We're going to just set that. And we're going to go customer waste. Oh, that's false. I'll edit that later.
So if you have dual monitors, here's what would be really nice to spread your planning next to your
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we can all tab, but
Yeah.
shoulders. We also had waste. Which is not waste room. We also had one other one. Okay, so down here, let's fix that. That's not how it's actually spelled. Okay, edit that.
So it's very good that you're, I loved how you just kept rolling right through it and you're like, I'll get to that later. Like you were like, oh no!
I did it wrong.
I did it
Okay.
wrong.
And we could probably put any other custom measurements. That might be a good one to have. Just
And then you could just fill in whatever it needed to be.
exactly. You could just make a note. Custom measurements. Okay, so we'll leave those as our customer fields. So now possibly we have a new customer that walks in. We should probably put in our new customer name.
Great.
Who's our new customer, Brandon? Would you like to be, or do you want me to just make it up?
I have no problem being a customer.
I can make it up too.
So mine would be a chest measurement rather than a bust measurement. Chest.
True, I actually thought about that. I thought, you know, for men, you would actually have a chest
But it's all
measurement.
good. It's,
But we can add that lickety split. That's no problem.
or you could even just say chest / bust.
Bust. Yes, we could,
So that's kind of comboing things, if you will.
which is great because you'll obviously know whether it's a male or female what you're going to use. Okay.
So ideally right here, instead of putting new, if you actually know the person's name, you could just put M-O. M-O.
Right, if you are in here, we
Uh,
can search for you. But
and it didn't find anything underneath that. So.
so we're going to add you as a new customer. That's all right.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm not sure what that is.
I'm 543 grams.
Makes sense, yeah, I'm doing this as well. So you are in. Now we have Brandon as a customer. So let's go ahead and get some of your measurements while we're here, and we'll talk about the project. Actually, we probably should talk about what we're creating for you. What are we making for you?
I would like.
This is a lot. No.
Okay, no problem. So basically, I would like to order a custom pair of pants. Just for fun.
Would you like a suit?
Sure, you can do whatever you want. Just pretend. I'll let you.
Oh, then we can just put in some of your other measurements. Yeah, pants, we wouldn't need them. We're ordering a custom suit. How about a navy pinstripe? All right. Okay, we're going to add that. And we are going to add,
You might have to speak up just a little.
oh, sorry. We are going to add some flex grid now for Brandon. I just added the log note as to what he wanted for the project. And then I'm going to actually use flex grid, what we put in there, for all of his measurements. So we're going to put in all the measurements we have for Brandon. And I don't know what they are. So.
That's okay, just fake it.
Here we go. And the inseam. And shoulders. Neck to waist. So I'm just popping in numbers. We're just making it up here. And that's all we really need for that. So we're going to add that tie-in for Brandon, because now we have all his measurements, so we can go back and make sure that we have all of that logged when we go to create his suit.
Okay, awesome. So, and I think this is great. You used FlexGrid to custom record some stuff. Why did you choose FlexGrid? It's a great choice, but why did you choose FlexGrid versus something else?
Just because I know that I will have that for every customer I have, and it's so nice to be able to search it that way. Instead of it being in the log notes, it would be in random places. Oh, maybe I logged it in the first entry, but that gets sorted according to date and it changes. But if I know it's in FlexGrid, I know I have all of the measurements exactly where I want them. And that's something I want to track for everyone, that's individual, specialized.
So you kind of have a goal, and then you're saying, I'm going to use the FlexGrid piece because it'll allow me to customize and do this right off the bat. Okay?
Right, exactly.
Awesome, great. So I technically exist now. You have my measurements, and you have a little log note. Hey, he'd like to do a custom suit. He wants a navy pinstripe pattern. Okay, where would you go next? What happens next?
Well, I would start working on the project, obviously. So maybe we would track that through elements of tag.
Sure.
Or, I could even, maybe you came in and you said that, and I did some research in the background, and
maybe you gave me a
you came back in, exactly, and we looked through patterns, and we talked about special things.
So you're basically adding another log note, just saying, hey, this is another thing happened.
Brandon came back in today, and we discussed some patterns that I had found. We decided to combine 2 suit patterns for the custom look that he was wanting.
Awesome. So those are unlimited, so you could technically go as deep as you wanted to. So that's awesome.
So we'll add that though. So we're starting to log what's going on with Brandon. And then if we had a follow-up date or a follow-up time, which maybe we would in some of these, like I'm going to work on the pant portion, and when I get to this stage, I'll follow up with Brandon. So I could use that as well. But do we want to do some elements of time?
Yeah.
With our customers. Okay, so let's just go to the time home page from here. And we'll probably want to create a new template, I would assume, for our seamstressing. So I'm going to go to the View Add Master Time Templates. And we're going to set up a template. We're going to call it don't know what they call this, like seamstress.
Custom jobs, or
That would work.
what do you want to call it? Basically,
I'm just
you
trying
need
to
to
think
name
of
it
what-
whatever you wanted to.
I know, I'm trying to think of what the seamstress would.
Sewing projects. Or
All of them would be custom. I mean, that's why you would go to a seamstress. So you would probably just call it, yeah, sewing projects. That would be a good word for it.
Okay.
Hopefully you would know what you would want to call your projects when you're working on it. And I don't think we need a default caption, because then if we leave that blank, we could put in whoever's project we're working on, correct?
Okay. Correct.
If we
Absolutely.
left it open.
Here's something that gets kind of interesting, and if you're going to introduce elements of time, and I know that you're just kind of popping down through here, what are your options? Why do you need a template? Why do you need a master time template?
Just because then I can set it up and I can use that every time. So if I'm working on sewing projects, there's probably elements I would want to track with my sewing projects every time. So I probably want to track who I'm doing it for, which customer's project I'm working on, and maybe specific other items I will want to track. And then that's nice, because every time I come in and I'm working on a sewing project, I can pull up my sewing project and I can detail it out that way and have, basically it's another container. For time though, essentially, is my understanding.
Right.
I can basically contain whatever I want in my sewing projects, but then I can keep other things separate. So if I'm doing appointments or scheduling, or maybe I'm teaching sewing classes, that's not a sewing project. I need different things for that. So maybe my sewing classes will be time spans, and I will have other things I'd like to track there. It's almost just another little container to track my time and what I want my time to hold.
Perfect.
So we definitely would want a main start date and start time. We would want an end date and end time, right? Because we're tracking this for
Now,
billing.
if you have two choices for billing. Are you going to kind of say, hey, I was working on Johnny's project today, and just add that to your calendar? Oh, I was working on Johnny's project again, add that to the calendar? Or are you trying to say, I'm going to start one job, and then I'm going to add subs of time to that job, and then I'm going to eventually bill it out?
That one.
Okay, so you may not even need an end date and an end time.
Okay.
And
So we're
I
just
would
gonna
even
have
say
subs under
the
it.
start time, I would kill that as well. All you need is a date.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to start a project, okay? And who knows when it's going to get done. This is a
Because all our
custom deal.
subs will
The
hold that.
subs will hold all of our
Great.
hours, okay?
Okay, so I guess you could potentially use a target date if you had a time you wanted the project to be done,
If
but you
wanted
probably
to,
don't
yeah.
need it. So
I would say let's add the invoice quote
it's
setting
billable,
and the general.
general amount, and yes,
Yes,
we do want our
total time.
final time. Probably want it in hours,
Yeah, that's fine.
and
You're going to want a single customer assignment, probably.
yes, we will want customer assignments. The payee assignment, that won't really, and the location's not necessarily that important. Yes, we'll leave it green. I like green. And hours and minutes, that's great. So that looks good, but we do want subs. So is this where we come down here?
Right.
So allow sub action.
You probably want to skip the first one, the action logs. That's really good for like checking in or saying, hey, I've started or I've completed, or it's an auto thing.
Basically,
and-
so other people can check it too.
yeah. So you can kind of tell what the status is of it, okay?
Okay.
You're definitely going to want to do the sub dates and times, though.
So probably all of these, right?
Correct. This is where you're actually putting such and such a day here to
I did.
such and such a part
Mhm.
hours. And what it does is it'll start adding up the decimal hours so that you can eventually bill it and be like,
Great.
cool, I have tons of this.
Great. Sub comment, yes, we'll definitely want that.
Sure, no problem.
I mean, I think I would want to track what I did
Yeah.
there, so
It's
I would
basically
definitely
just a
want that.
whole nother note section that's tied to that job.
Right.
To that job.
So that would just link it to the date and time,
Yeah,
correct?
that's not really
So-
super important, but yes, it does. I would just go like that. That's good.
Okay.
Then I'd skip all the rest
We
of
don't
that
need
right now.
sign-offs, yeah, payroll, reminders, assignments, no. Okay, so we're ready to put in our template. Here's our template, sewing projects. So let's start using it this way. Okay, so this one's going to be for Brandon, except I can put that later as well. because we have a customer dining, right? So it'll
Yeah,
type
yeah.
right
So
to you.
that's okay. This might be just like soup, custom soup, or whatever. Like you might actually want to kind of name the project like Brandon Moore Custom Soup or something like that. Just so, oh yeah, that's what that one was.
Okay. Sounds great. And we're going to start working on it today. And just seeing what my options are here.
So under, I would leave everything because you're just barely
Right,
starting.
just starting.
I would put a little customer sign. Use that third one down where it says "Help me do a search."
Ah,
And put more or whatever. Brandon is great. I would just put Brandon because it won't find Brandon Moore
oh, okay.
because it just has to look in individual fields. But good comment. I would just put Brandon. Help me look for Brandon.
Okay, great.
And then you can actually put what the main project is right here. Like this is some of your what's going to happen.
Okay. So we add it, and as I added it, it helps search for that assignment.
Yes, go ahead. I was reading something. Sorry.
Nope, you're fine. I apologize. So yes, this is the one I want to assign you to assign.
Correct.
Cool. Very cool.
So all it does is this creates your new container, okay?
Yeah.
And
Great.
it shows up on the calendar, okay, because it has a date. And it's now searchable, and now you can start adding when
All
did you
sorts of
work,
cells.
what did you log, whatever.
So when I come in to add something for Brandon's project specifically, correct me if I'm wrong, I've never done this, I will come here to add new subdates and times
Correct.
because it's all underneath this project.
Correct.
So I don't need to go to my new template. I come here, I add
Correct.
subdates
Correct.
and times.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
So let's pretend that you did one today just for fun, and it's currently 11:30. Say you started from 9 to 11:30, and you did something, okay? So right here, you could even just put working or whatever. And if you didn't want to have to type this, we could actually show you ways to pre-populate these little teeny. Every single sub needs a caption of some sort. Like, okay, what is happening
Right.
here? And If
Okay.
you wanted to, we could even show you how to do that.
So I started at 9,
Yep.
you said?
You can either click on the I know the exact timeout, or you could just say, hey, I just want to add 2.5 hours, depending on your options. That's the fourth option if you wanted to say 2.5 hours, or you could say here
Here.
and go 11:37, or it doesn't make a bit of difference.
Yeah,
That's very
let's do
detailed.
some smaller time.
And go space AM.
Oh, yeah, right there. Okay, so here it's laying out the patterns and creating my own custom pattern pieces. Okay, so we'll add that update in time. Cool, so we've got 2.62 hours that we've worked thus far.
Correct. So it'll start keeping your decimal, and you just let it keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. Okay?
Yeah, that's great.
But you have notes on it, you have dates, you have anything like that. So if one of your captions, if you don't want to put like, hey, like you constantly don't want to put working in there, you would just go back to the master time template and actually say, I'm going to put working in here.
Let's do it.
Great, so go back to the main time homepage
Here, and we'll edit it.
and hit edit. And scroll all the way down to the cells. Okay, perfect, right there. So if you want to build a drop-down list so you don't have to type, you can actually just put the word working. Okay. If you wanted multiple pieces, you would go comma, whatever. Okay. So say you were like working, prepping, you know, whatever. Like, or maybe you just wanted it called working. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I could put cutting, sewing.
Yeah. Well, it depends. Like you might want to just call that working. You might
I
not
would
want
call it working.
I would just
but
call
you
it
could
working.
detail it out.
You could totally detail it out. Just hit edit. So now the next time you do go, so like go up to the top where it says time on elements time homepage. Why don't you find it on your calendar?
Right there.
Okay, click on number 1.
Add another one.
Yeah. So it had two links there once you started doing it. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
you want me to add the next one right from the last
from
one?
the last entry.
But it may not be. Like, you could technically detail out things to incredible levels. But
Right.
so this is,
Right.
see how it popped in working automatically for you?
Yeah, that's great. Let's do it this way because we're going to use hours. And let's say we did 3 hours this one.
This is where you're logging your notes, so when you need to, if you needed to, you could actually show the person that, hey, this thing took me 50 hours to do or whatever. So
Extra time to make sure all the pinstripes are correct.
sure.
Okay, very cool. So it's still tracking all of our hours. It's great. I like how it tracks it actually in hours and minutes and as a decimal.
Correct. Some
Nice.
people like it different ways, but
Yeah, no, I think
it's
that's
just kind of
nice.
slowly adding things up for you. So you could technically have multiple different projects going, and as long as you're piling them into the correct spot, it's just sitting out there. So
Yeah. This is great. So, I'm just looking at my options here. So just thinking about billing you, just going through that, just showing what that would be to bill you.
So there's a little thing that says add time to cart right there, if you wanted to. It's a button that's right in the middle. Find the first line of the big dark lines. It's right smack dab in the middle. Go down a
Oh,
little
it's a
bit
big
from-
button.
It's a button.
I was looking at all the links.
No
Totally
problem.
glanced over that. Add time to cart. Got it. Perfect. Okay. So this
So-
one I obviously don't have it set how much I would
If
charge
you
per
scroll down,
hour.
it actually pulled in
All
some
my
of your
time.
different little pieces. Okay, it doesn't show you all of your stuff, but it does break it into like how many hours were in your subs. But it doesn't actually say, hey, this is this point, this whatever. Like
Right.
you might have to do some math, or just hit your back button, and if you didn't want to do the math, it's actually on the edit
Right
page.
there. Yeah.
So, and now what you would do is you would say add item, and this is just a labor cell.
And just labor it at
Yep,
my
just
cost
labor it.
out.
And then was labor in there? Okay.
That's
No
good.
problem. Let's go turn it on. Like, basically, this is a demo site, so
It just hasn't been turned
it
on.
hasn't been turned on. So
Okay, sounds good.
go home and manage corp info and permissions, up to settings. All the way down to the bottom, there's a big matrix. Go up just a little bit. There we go. We're getting into it.
Labor.
So there's a bunch of them that have been hidden.
That's the only one we really need, right?
Correct. That's the one that we were looking for that wasn't there.
Save that settings.
Now, if you bounce back into your cart, you've got
Labor.
labor.
Great.
So I think it was, and this is where I don't know the exact thing. Go ahead and just put it at $15 an hour. We can even look at the next page.
Yeah, I think it was
It's a piece of cake.
5.62 or something, but
Yeah. So this is physically what's going to show up on the invoice. All your other stuff is just kind of sub pieces of the pie.
Right.
Okay. It's kind of your working document to get you to the piece of the puzzle.
perfect.
Okay.
And then we can even go back into here, can't we?
Yes.
And look
absolutely.
at our time.
Yep. And then
Wait, we
it'll
could add it up right there.
Yeah, that's pretty
5.62.
easy. Yep. 5.62. So change your quantity to 5.62. Then update. Perfect.
Yeah, there we go.
So currently we're at $84.
That's our billable amount. So, cool. That's cool. I've never done any of that.
Cool. So if you go clear to the end, it will actually continue to tie it to that piece of time as well. Like
Mhm.
clear to the invoice saying, okay, cool, I'm tied now to this time. And it just creates more relationships, if you will. So instead of it just being the customer tied to the time, it'll actually tie that invoice back to it as well.
So what you're saying is, as I continue adding pieces of time, it will continually update this invoice?
No, it will not.
Okay, but it's tied to the time. I'll just have to bring it in again,
Correct. So,
right?
depending on how your job goes, and this kind of gets into just consulting,
Right.
elements of time, we created a container for time.
Right.
And we started adding tons of little subs because we're working on it, okay?
Right.
And then you decide, hey, I'm going to start billing this. And we're We just did it just for fun because
Right.
we're doing a demo
You
right
clear
now.
the card. It's fine.
What you have to determine is what is your normal practice. Are you going to be doing multiple invoices for this thing or just a single invoice?
So one at the end for this. So you would wait till you finish the project, pull in all your time, is what I would assume.
Correct. So at this point, I would say, perfect, this is great. Why don't you go ahead and go clear through the checkout process and say that I'm actually not even here to pay you yet. You're just prepping stuff. You're like, I'll just put this on account and I'll create the invoice. So as soon as I come, boom, instantly I have an $84 invoice. It's ready for me. And then it's basically right there, prepped and ready. And then as soon as I come in, you're like, sweet, let's see if we can add a payment for you here.
Okay, sounds good.
One of the cool things is because it does have elements of time, if you wanted to hide this, if you click on your more options, go up to the top and click on more options, there are ways that you can actually hide and show that even with PDFs, saving to PDFs. So you can, let's say you have tons of time that you're just doing little element. Instead of stacking it into subs, say you were doing just main elements of time and filling it out that way. You could hide or show if you needed to. Can you see where it went?
Yeah.
Just has an active link back up to that particular one. Okay, and as soon as you do invoice it, it actually automatically did some stuff. So why don't you just scroll down for a minute and go to element of time number 1. Okay, you now have invoice number 6. Okay, it now says that it has been invoiced, and like even under the history, it will actually say, hey, I've been tied to some different pieces of the puzzle.
Cool. You could apply payments here.
There's lots of different ways. There's lots and lots of different ways. But currently, I owe $84. Okay. There's a little link up at the top that says apply payments, or you can just click on that if you.
Yeah. Oh, nice. There we go.
This just kind of shows you what it is, but there's a link right here again that says apply payments, or you could go specifically right to the actual invoice and apply the payment that way. Like, either way, there's multiple ways to kind of get the job done once it actually happens.
Totally.
So if you're on number 6, you could hit edit line items and just plunk in a payment. Scroll down to the bottom, boom, right there's your quick little form.
Ah, nice.
Like there's multiple ways that you can kind of do it once it gets to that next level.
That's great.
Awesome. Can I show you one more thing that I saw that I thought was kind of cool? Why don't you do a search? Let's say that it's another job that you're going to do another one for Brandon. Okay, so go customer, Brandon or BRA. Look over on the far right side where it says new cart and new time. Okay, just click on that. And if you only have one element of time, one template, it automatically rolls you right in. And it already knows that it's tied to Brandon. It's ready like, okay, what's his next job? Say that I needed a vest to go with my suit, just for fun.
Okay. Sounds great.
It's already tied to
Already
me.
tied. That's great. Great.
Perfect. Okay. So technically, you've got the new container sitting out there. It has not been invoiced.
Right. Because I haven't done anything on it, that project yet, but we just started it. That's cool.
Correct. See where that general amount is, right? Why don't you add some fictitious data like, hey, I'm working here, working here. Let's add it up so you're adding some more subs. Say you did 3 subs to get this thing done, okay? Just kind of plop in some little subs from here to here and layout and getting fabric and whatever. And why don't you do it so it's going to end up being, 6 or so hours or whatever. I'm just going to show you an easier way to kind of, just go ahead and plop in some random dates, times, whatever.
Sounds great.
And you do have to put a AM or PM time.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
It just doesn't know.
It's true. Could be doing it at night when everyone's sleeping.
you will have to tell it 4 hours or 4 minutes or 4 whatever. So this is great because you're virtually logging all your notes. It's already tied to the customer because it's tied to that element of time. But these little subs are basically allowing you to just plunk through stuff pretty fast. And I realize the dates and times may not be exactly for this particular demo, but like it'll give us our totals that we're looking for. Perfect. Okay, so it's got a bunch of subs. So watch this. See the total hours as the decimal is 7.75? Watch this. If you go up to the top and do an edit main, and you come down to the general amount, and you just put in, or you can even put the total time. Or, instead of the amount, put it in the total time. Just click the second one down, 7.75 in hours. And then you could do your own math if you wanted to. Like if you knew that, hey, I charge $20 an hour or I charge whatever, you could, it's under all programs, accessories, calculator. But if you wanted to, what this does is it preps it so you don't have to do it later on when you're in the shopping cart.
Right.
It'll actually pull these values across for you. And so like you've been just working, you don't even care, and then all of a sudden you just do a quick little calculation. 7.75 times whatever you're doing, your rate.
155.
So why don't you just plunk in 155 right there. Okay, scroll down to the bottom and just say edit. Click. Okay, so now if you were to add this thing to the cart, because you have a couple of those other values, it will actually start pulling in some of your other pieces, okay? So look, so find the element of time, there's the different little pieces, okay? Scroll up to, come down, find that,
right there.
Yeah, look at how it pulled in your values and your total hours and everything. So like, instead of like having to go back there and find it, we just put it in on the main.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, because it's on the main, it's being able to fit in. So if you had multiple projects and everything had the pieces fed in, it would actually do all the math for you. Okay, that's kind of the goal of what that does. It's part of the invoicing feature. So now when you do it, it's a piece of cake. You know it's 7.75 hours. You just boom. The reason it doesn't automatically tie it to labor or this or that, we have no clue what you're going to actually be billing for.
Right, exactly.
It could be a custom item or whatever. So this is just what physically is going to hit the line item on the invoice that satisfies the invoice piece of it. Your time pieces actually already has all the other pieces of that puzzle. Okay? Boom, 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 comes all the way across. That's great. And so those totals, those actually won't show up on the invoice. Those are just for you to help you build the process of it. Okay?
Yeah.
So
neither will all of my subs.
correct. Neither will your subs. Okay? So if you ever wanted to and they're like, hey, what happened? You could actually go back to that element of time. If you don't want to print everything, you could say, I just want the subs for this, or you can even sub-filter things, or like, you have tons of options that way. So
Great. Very cool. We're going to put it back.
cool.